Hey guys, Amber here. I just wanted to give you a little preface to this episode. It was actually recorded on September 30th, which is before the trailer came out. And it delves into all of the potential leaks that were coming out around that time. Now, obviously, as most leaks go from 4chan and Reddit, who knows how true they are. But if you're trying to avoid spoilers, it's best to go ahead and just avoid this one altogether. Because who knows which of these are actually going to end up being true. It also goes without saying that because this was recorded before the trailer dropped, a lot of the speculation that we make has either been proven true or false by the trailer. But I still wanted to upload it because there are certain things we touch on from the leaks that we thought were pretty interesting or pretty well reasoned. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Council of the Whills. My name is Jane.
And I'm Amber.
Right now, Jen is currently unavailable. She'll pop in later on this episode, but for now, Amber and I are just going to kind of take the reins. For everyone who listened to our last episode, you know that we kind of had to cut it short, or else our last episode would have been 5 hours long. So with the news from last week, this whole episode is going to be devoted entirely to our Snoke theory sucks, or does your Snoke theory suck? Since the last, I'd say, week or so, I would take a guess as to a good half a dozen to a dozen various leaks and Reddit forums and articles from Making Star Wars have all come out about The Last Jedi. What we do know for sure is that there is a final cut of the movie. And so we're just going to kind of go down and see if what we think of all of these, see if we think that they're going to happen or if they're not going to happen. And yeah.
A lot of this is really just going to be us kind of examining the leaks and seeing, do they have any merit in our opinion? And if they are true, hypothetically, what could that mean for the movie and the direction the entire series is going?
Yeah, some of these leaks are more credible than others. As Amber and I've discussed, we've seen one where neither of us believes it's real because of the credibility of the person posting it. So who knows? I mean, with this whole episode, take it with a giant grain of salt. Really, no one knows anything. This is just what's come out of the woodwork and what we think of it. All
Let's get started.
So all of this really started, I think, a week and a half ago, with Making Star Wars France. They posted an article, and it's translated from very, very rough French, because I don't speak French. And if you try to find it again, find the article again, Making Star Wars France took it down. Or if it's still available, I'm unable to find it.
Now, I should mention that Star Wars France does have a history of being a little bit unreliable, as they took a picture of a cosplayer who does bear a strong resemblance to Daisy Ridley holding a porg that she made and posted it saying it was Daisy Ridley.
As I understand too, Jason Ward from the US Making Star Wars has denounced this and says that his section, for lack of a better word, of Making Star Wars does not, they don't put their stamp of approval on this. So just kind of take this with a giant grain of salt.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. It just means that he can't confirm it or he won't.
Exactly. So because I can no longer find the article, I kind of had to take very, very, very quick notes. And this is the meat and potatoes of the leak. And so, yeah, we'll kind of see what we think. So what this person reports is that Luke is initially very hesitant to train Rey, and ultimately he chooses not to. Luke is not as good and light-sided as he seems, nor is Kylo as evil. Luke has become fanatical in the years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. At one point, Kylo will compare Luke to Snoke, saying that both Luke and Snoke only care about their respective orders. So Snoke only cares about the First Order, and Luke only cares about the Jedi Order. Let's see. The Knights of Ren are a group of former students from Luke's academy who banded together to protect Ben from Luke's influence. Apparently, Adam Driver has one hell of a monologue at the end of the movie. Rey is not Luke's daughter, and the author of the article went to great lengths to explain that he thought it was very surprising that the author of the article thought that Rey was Luke's daughter, and he did not see it coming. Let's see. Finn has
Well, is he saying that he knows who the father is, and then it's surprising, or that Luke not being the father is surprising?
both. So from the original article, it says that you can private message or DM the author, and he'll tell you who the father is, but he didn't want to put it up publicly to spoil like viewers' experience of it if they don't want to see it. So who knows? You know what I mean? It could be like the carrot on the stick, but we
Yeah,
really
for
don't know.
sure.
Yeah. Finn has a scene in a Canto Bight casino where he wins a ton of money and he channels a little bit of James Bond. And Rose is the one who intervenes and chastises him for it, saying that they're on a mission and why are they doing this? Both Phasma and Hux are in the movie. I don't remember if this one said if Hux survived or not. I gotta be honest. I only saw it once and I had to jot things down as quickly as I could. Um,
Yeah.
Luke does use his lightsaber in the movie and he's extremely powerful.
That makes
See.
sense.
Oh yeah. Leia's storyline is told in full and it's very nicely wrapped up. It doesn't leave you with any questions wondering, like, where is Leia gonna, how are they gonna kill her off, or how are they going to, write her out in Episode 9. All of that's explained in The Last Jedi. And the last scene of the movie will have Kylo holding Rey, and he will vow to kill Snoke. And the last big revelation in this article, or the person who wrote this article claims, is that Snoke is not the leader of the First Order. He's number 2 on the food chain. The leader of the First Order is a character that the audience already knows extremely well. The article, however, did not name that character.
Interesting.
So it's food for thought. It's entertaining. If it was real, it's entertaining. I don't know. This one, from all the leaks I've seen, this one seems to have the most steam behind it. One of the Redditors who commented on this before it was taken down was the same guy who leaked a lot of the Rogue One plots and was very, very, very accurate. And what he did corroborate was the Canto Bight casino scene. He says that is in the movie, and so people shouldn't just poo-poo this because it's not what they want.
So that's actually interesting. The idea, because with a lot of these leaks, I kind of get the impression that someone's just kind of taking what we know and expanding their own desires upon it. Finn gambling and winning a lot of money and Rose not being chill with it is not really something I would assume. So the fact that that's the one that's corroborated, I don't think I said that word right. The fact that that's the one that's kind of confirmed is interesting, and I think it lends a little bit more credence to the rest of them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't know. I could kind of see like Finn with his First Order training being trained to know people's body language and know when people are bluffing and have a great poker face themselves. I could see that happening. Like I could see him getting his flag on. For our next leak, it comes from the depths of Reddit, and I just want to disclaim right now that I am not a Reddit expert. I am not the world's best person at navigating Reddit, but I mean, they're everywhere. These leaks are everywhere on Reddit, so I kind of did my best to document and link everything that I could find. Basically, cite all as my sources as best as I could. So, let's see. The gist of this leak says that the first word of The Last Jedi is going to be the word no. The movie has been described as quotation marks very different. What's so different? Rian Johnson's heavy use of flashbacks, not as a force vision like in Episode 7, but entire scenes flashing back to the past through Ben Solo's point of view. This doesn't sound too radical at first, but in practice it's very jarring. It doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie in some ways. The author goes on to say that Kylo Ren / Ben Solo is not the villain of the movie. He's more the main character, and most of his story is told through flashbacks. The movie is full of plot and characters that mirror each other, especially regarding Kylo. The relationship between Rey and Luke versus the relationship between Ben and Luke. The motherly relationship between Leia and Poe versus the strained relationship between Leia and Ben. The relationship between Kylo and Luke versus the mentorship between Snoke and Kylo. The big theme here is the story of family and blood. Um, this person alleges that Phasma is going to kill Hux. Harrison Ford is credited in The Last Jedi. Han shows up at 2 points. The first, just a voice in Kylo's head, his last words from the previous movie, and the second scene with Leia in a flashback. Let's see. After being injured on Crate, Rey will wake up in what appears to be a hut being cared for by none other than Snoke. Not knowing who Snoke is, they have a very... This person has horrible grammar. They have a conversation about the nature of life and the Force. Snoke is wearing a modest brown robe and is very kind to Rey. It's rather strange to see. And it's not until a later scene when Rey realizes that she's not planetside, but she's on a First Order flagship. The trailer is very misleading. Luke never trains Rey, but the shots you see of her, quote, training, while he watches on the ledge from the trailer, Rey is acting of her own accord, and Luke just kind of stands back and watches. This is how most of her training is done. At one point, Rey will almost get killed by a sea monster, and Luke will still refuse to get involved. Rey will stay pissed at Luke for most of the movie. And most of the dialogue in the trailer is not in the movie. And that is corroborated by Mark Hamill at Celebration. You can hear him, especially in the feed from the trailer. You can hear him say, "Oh, I just recorded all this dialogue for the trailer, but I haven't seen it."
Same with The Force Awakens. Like the first trailer that was old dialogue.
Yeah.
I have it. My sister has it. My father had it. And now you strange girl.
And then isn't it like close
you
to
have
Finn?
It too.
Yeah.
It's bait and switch. But anyway.
It's really fucked up.
Oh yeah, people were pissed about that.
Yep.
But this person has 2 more bullet points. There are no Knights of Ren. Kylo had followers when he destroyed the Deveron Temple? Deveron? I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. Who he called the Knight of Ren, but they're all dead. Kylo being, quote, the Master of the Knights of Ren is more of a rank than a practical title. And if that's the case, I'd be mad. That's shit. But the first Jedi Temple has writings about the nature of the Force and detailed the rise of the dark side. Let's see. Luke has come to believe that the light casts a shadow, and if the Jedi exist, their opposition will too. So if the Jedi end, the dark side will end, and the galaxy can choose its own destiny. That's a mouthful.
It is. The last point I just look at it is, believe that the light casts a shadow, and if the Jedi exist, and everything. It's basically like, please don't make any more Skywalkers. We understand we mess up the galaxy.
Yeah.
Now, see, there's a lot of things about this one I don't particularly like, and there's later things in the actual comments of this particular leak that I disagree with, and I think are counter to what we know to be true. This particular set of leaks, I don't quite feel have a terrible amount of weight.
Yeah.
Part of me does want the training to sort of be that way for a little bit, because I have a feeling that that's what it is going to be like. Rey is just going to be like, well, fine, I'll figure it out on my own. But Luke will ultimately train her, but for a while she does train, in quotation marks, alone.
Yeah. I mean, that's how she survived on Jakku. If she did it on Jakku, she can do it on Ahch-To.
Yeah, I mean, that's about one of the few things in this leak that I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, the other stuff can be extrapolated from what's been said already. Like, it's all about family. Well, Carrie said that it's all about family in the behind-the-scenes reel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think one of the really damning things about it, and even though I have, talked about why this isn't necessarily damning, the fact that it says Phasma kills Hux, even though Donal has confirmed that he's coming back for 3, is suspect. There's a lot of ways that Donal could be in 3 with Hux still being dead, but given that there are other leaks that say that Snoke kills Hux, I don't know. There's a lot happening, and I don't know what's up.
Oh yeah.
I would believe Phasma would shoot Hux, and that it could be portrayed as Hux dying, in quotation marks. But you're right. But he said he's back, and they're not going to leave, just when you thought I was dead, I'm back.
I mean, that is kind of how we felt about Phasma. A lot of people assume that because she went to the trash compactor, she died when Starkiller base blew up. But she's back, and everyone's like, oh, great, how?
Don't question.
So there's always the chance that they could end on somewhat of a question mark as to maybe she attacks him, like you said, and we don't know what happens to him, and then he comes back. But it seems pretty early to leave on that question mark when Donald doesn't have a gag order to say he's not coming back.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that says something, that if he was given the okay to say that he's a 9, like, people couldn't even say that they were in Star Wars before. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, plus he's being very convoluted. He's saying that, he's worked with people at Lucasfilm, and they told him after the fact, after they've been drinking, that, this is what they've seen from close to a final cut of the movie. I'm like, it could be
because it's like a second, third-hand account, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like these leaks are basically a game of telephone.
Yes.
He's getting what other people have interpreted from their own viewing, which may not necessarily be the facts.
Because I mean, there is a final cut of the movie that's been confirmed. There is a final cut, and people have seen it.
And it's 2.5 hours
of awesomeness.
Which is great. So I mean, in general, I don't feel super great about about this collection of leaks. I think they may have nuggets of truth in there, but I think the effort to get said leaks through multiple other sources is gonna water them down at the very least.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next set of leaks I have is from 4chan, and this page does not exist, or if it does, I know nothing of 4chan to actually be able to see it. So someone on a forum site transcribed it, so I'm reading their transcription. So the person goes on to say, Finn has a mission to dig up info on Snoke. He's talking to a bunch of rich assholes talking up the power and fear of the leader of the First Order, who has, unbeknownst to Finn, an audience with the guys talking about Luke, not Snoke. This person has bad grammar. Finn apparently gets captured, and he unwillingly betrays the Resistance by having his brain downloaded. This person claims Luke is straight up evil, and that the big money shot of the movie is going to be Luke whipping out a red lightsaber. Let's see, Kylo will turn to the light when he realizes that Snoke has been using him. This person also claims that Kylo and Rey are going to fall in love. And lastly, they claim that the ghosts of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin have all been trying to warn Rey that she's in danger since she arrived on Ahch-To. She only hears them right after the, quote, big reveal.
Another thing that they suggest is that Rey is Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter.
Yeah.
And that the Knights of Ren were Luke's creation, it seems like, because it's a whole thing about Luke, and then we're his creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, the stuff it runs together after a while.
It's okay.
Yeah. The thing I will say is I saw this 4chan thread when it existed. I don't remember where I clicked the link, probably off Tumblr. But I went and I read it, and some of these quote-unquote details have a chance of being just completely false and not from the source at all, because the original leaker, quote-unquote, made a comment that says, and now someone is impersonating me and making up their own answers. Anything after this point is not something that I've said. Yeah, so someone was impersonating the leaker and saying other things. So there's not really a way to know which items are the true leak and which ones are the ones the imposter leaked. So that's a rough one.
Yeah. But there are some things with all these that we're seeing as a common thread, but there are some things in this one that I'm just like, I don't think so.
Well,
no.
the Rey Palpatine just comes out of left field.
Yeah.
There's been nothing to suggest that she's related to Palpatine, other than her being on Jakku, but there were tons of Imperials on Jakku, and Palpatine was already dead by that point.
She's British.
An accent is genetic.
But yeah, that part does come out of left field. And the whole Knights of Ren being Luke's creation comes out of left field kind of too. It's like, okay, yeah, he's evil. Oh, he also created these guys that Kylo is still calling himself part of? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, unless like Snoke, I mean, if we want to go with the whole thing where Snoke is actually working for Luke and Snoke, you know, Kylo Ren doesn't know that the Knights of Ren are Luke's invention, and Snoke is just playing it up as some sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of convoluted things that I'm not really sure, like, what's gonna happen.
Oh man, so I guess our next set of leaks also come from 4chan, and this one, like the one we just talked about, seems kind of dubious at best, but who knows? You never know. You never know until you see the movie, and that's really kind of the bottom line, is you never know what's going to be true until you see it. So this person, anonymous on 4chan, says they just saw The Last Jedi last night, and spoiler alert, Luke has turned evil, but not the same way Kylo or his dad. His anger and frustration made him to be a sort of disillusioned, angry hippie. His anger is turned against almost everybody, including his sister and the Resistance. He hates what power and wealth do to people. This is also why he refuses to see Chewie on the island. In his opinion, Chewie is a sellout. Because his anger, his Force use is out of control. He is extremely powerful with the Force and tries to get a grip on his anger. It's something that he struggles with. Rey brings light to Luke and to Kylo. She is strong with the Force and even stronger in her convictions. She redeems both characters by changing their hearts. I felt sad for Kylo, for he was truly left all alone and his choices are unidentifiable. Or his choices are identifiable, excuse me. Luke really failed him by trying to use him. In a way, it was all Luke's fault. Rey has a sister who's in the First Order. She is the one who dropped her off. Her parents are quite random and not significant to the story. It is hinted that she might be the reincarnation of someone. Not quotation marks, parentheses, not Anakin. This has yet to be revealed. Maz has her comment on the same eyes with different people regarding Finn. It will get a new meaning. The Knights of Ren are former students of Luke who wanted to protect Kylo against Luke. We know that Snoke at some point near the end turns out to be one big illusion. Snoke is most probably a Wizard of Oz type thing with holograms. It might even be someone we know, but we really don't get an answer. R2-D2 does some badass stuff that changes Kylo. R2 plays a recording that everyone thought was lost. Adam Driver will win an Oscar for what I think is the best monologue in modern cinema. It clearly reflects upon modern-day America and Trump. And last but not least, Kylo and Rey will fall in love. Finn will also find love, but he thinks Poe steals his thunder or doesn't know what we know. And yeah, that's what this person says. It kind of plays along with the Making Star Wars France one, and I can't help but wonder if they saw the one from Making Star Wars France and then just retold it with different words.
I don't know. There seem to be like some common threads through all of these things, and I don't know if it's just that's what we're getting told, or that it's somebody saw one post and then they decided to post on their own, and then they posted and posted and posted.
Like a game of telephone.
Exactly, because we keep seeing Luke is dark. We keep seeing the Knights of Ren aren't really what we think they are. We keep seeing Rey has family.
Kylo will be redeemed.
Kylo will be redeemed. Rey and Kylo will fall in love. Like, these are the continuing themes through all of them, and the whole like Finn has his own plot and is kind of like has his big moments as well.
What I find interesting is that for the most part, these leaks don't really go too deeply into the Resistance side of the storyline.
Yeah.
It seems to be focusing really heavily on the Force plot, which I can't tell if that damages credibility or adds more to it or what, because clearly the Force plot is going to be like super central to the movie, as you know the movie's called The Last Jedi. But you can't take away the war and the political side of Star Wars, and so
I mean,
um,
none of these leaks mention Rose. None of these leaks mention Holdo. None of like very. You'll mention Finn. You'll mention Poe in some of them, but you're right. They don't mention not Luke, Rey, Kylo, Snoke, Phasma.
no one is mentioning Benicio del Toro. No one is mentioning Justin Theroux's hacker character. A lot of it just seems like ones that you could just kind of guess at.
Yeah.
You could guess
And
that from toys.
yeah, for sure. Like, there's aspects to it that I like, but at the same time, like some of them just don't have a whole lot of. There's just not like a whole lot of variation in them to where I can really say like, yeah, you know what, that sounds like a really good summarization of what I'm expecting from this.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I wonder how much of this was they knew that there were other characters, but they decided to not post about them. But that would be really weird. Like, I feel like if I knew who Benicio del Toro's character is, if I decided to do a spoiler leak, I'd be like, so this guy.
Yeah, this is DJ. DJ
Yeah.
stands for blah. His real name is blah.
As
Yeah, like
opposed
that's
to,
one of the things that would be, I don't know. And then I just kind of get these ideas in my head that like they're showing like fake versions of the movie to see who the leakers are to fire them.
that would actually be like,
Really
on
smart.
one hand, it's like, oh, that's really tricky. On the other hand, I'm like, this is Disney and Lucasfilm. They know.
I stole that from Game of Thrones. Like,
Wait, really?
Tyrion.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah, you leak the wrong information, and then when that information gets out, you know who is the one who spread it, and you know they're untrustworthy.
Yeah,
Snap, snap.
it was in season 2. Tyrion tells 3 different people 3 different stories, and the one that gets repeated tells him who's the spy.
If I was working for Lucasfilm, that's exactly what I would do. I'd be like, I have different versions of this movie.
I mean, it's smart, because or else you'll see shit end up on eBay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They would have to edit like 3 different movies, though.
I mean, if you just have like Daisy read a line differently, and you're like, by the way, I'm gonna screw some people over, and then you just do one scene where you edit in that line instead. Like, it's not inconceivable at the very least.
Yeah.
I don't know how compartmentalized everything is over at Lucasfilm. If people do their jobs and only their jobs and they don't see anything else to prevent like crossover contamination, or if everyone sees everything.
I don't know. I wasn't allowed past the lobby.
If if I don't know, man. If I was Lucasfilm, I definitely would compartmentalize everything. You get this scene.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, wait.
the plot of Star Wars is like, it's like a more closely guarded secret than the like 11 herbs and spices.
Yeah.
I can't imagine giving anyone who wasn't super high up the chain ultimate access to those secrets.
I don't know. So many leaks. Leaks everywhere.
It's one of those things with all these leaks that people, the majority of the people online are going to want to know the following things. Is Luke good or bad? Who are Rey's parents? What is the hell is going on with Kylo Ren?
Yeah.
But that said, there are a growing number of people that are like, okay, what's up with Rose and Paige and Holdo, and what are we doing with Leia? And none of these leaks really address that.
Yeah, I think what it's basically boiling down to is people have spent the past nearly 2 years wondering about what's going to happen in the sequel, and the big questions are like, I mean, the fact that no one is revealing who Snoke is in these leaks gives a little bit of credence to it, because Ryan already said we're not going to know anything about him.
Yeah.
And
I feel like there's one actual true leak out there, and everyone else is just kind of copying and going off of it. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
But
well, actually, what's interesting is I think everybody seems to be talking about this monologue that Adam Driver has at the very end.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something that was added or if that's something that people just want, but that would be really interesting. Because if it does end with like a big monologue from him, you know,
I mean,
what are we? Star Wars isn't really known for its monologues. The last time somebody did a monologue, it was in an opera house and it didn't go well.
It became a meme.
but I mean, if they were going to do a monologue, though, Adam Driver is the actor that you want to deliver it because he is a great actor. He's so good. And I definitely think that Rian Johnson would want to capitalize on that as much as he can.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
know,
I'm sure when they wrote The Force Awakens, I don't think they knew for a fact that they were going to have Adam Driver, so they couldn't really give him the chops. But now that, he comes back for this movie and it's him, like, you got a lot to work with.
Yeah.
The idea of him winning an Academy Award for this monologue is hilarious because no action-adventure films like this don't get nominated.
No, God.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think it would really be a testament if he did. I mean, he didn't even get nominated for Silence, and that movie was amazing. So it was a Scorsese movie, so okay. I just don't know.
The only person I could see getting nominated for an Academy Award from The Last Jedi is Carrie Fisher. Because they will, if she does well and like everything else, like it'll be supporting actress Carrie Fisher and go up and
like
do that.
Like a posthumous sort of award. Exactly,
but that is the only person that I can see from any Star Wars ever. Because I think some actor did get nominated before, but I don't remember what. I could be entirely wrong, but that's the only one I can see from Last Jedi. I get wanting to say that this monologue is to be great and amazing. Unfortunately, he has about as much chance as getting nominated for his role in Lucky Logan as he does for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all the Force Awakens one was best sound effects, and it had wonderful sound, but Star Wars is not known for being like the wonderful, highbrow, intelligent art. You know what I mean? It's entertainment. I think it's amazing entertainment and mythological entertainment, but it's considered by the masses as just like lowbrow entertainment.
Yeah. The original won awards, though.
I mean, like you're always going to win technical awards with Star Wars. But like acting and story and stuff like that just don't really tend to get the attention of the Academy.
Yeah.
Because, for one thing, look, I went to film school. I have very strong opinions on the Academy. But long story short, like, the phrase Oscar bait is real. Like, you're not gonna, I don't know. I don't think you're gonna see something from Star Wars winning anything but technical. Like,
yeah. And that's the thing, is you can see movies and it really is Oscar bait, even not having gone to film school, but just sort of looking at it. I'm like, oh, look, it's a movie about war. Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Oh, look, gangsters. Oscar bait. Like, you get the idea of what it is and what isn't.
Or someone doing a dramatic transformation, like Black Swan and Les Mis. That was like, wow, you guys are begging. You are begging. Like, give it to me. And The Revenant.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I completely disagree that Leonardo DiCaprio should have won an award for The Revenant. Like, I don't think his acting was near as good as it was as in, like, Catch Me If You Can. Or, what do you call it? What was that other movie he got nominated for? The Wolf of Wall Street. Like, I'm pretty sure they only gave him the Oscar because they were afraid he was going to kill himself if he went any further.
And, like, the screwed up thing is he's a great actor. I love Leonardo DiCaprio. He's such a good actor.
He really is. But I really think that his Oscar is tarnished because I don't think The Revenant was his best work. And I really don't think it was the best work out of the people who were up for it. Yeah. I really feel like that was a pity Oscar.
I mean, kind of everybody saw him get nominated, and it's like, well, I guess he's going to win. And it did kind of feel like that, because you're like, oh, I guess, well, that it's about the environment, and he cares about that, sort of, and all these things, so, well, I guess
the thing that really bothers me about that whole thing is that the entire campaign for his Oscar was about how much he went through for the movie, which I consider to be complete and total bullshit because you're not judging his method, you're judging his performance. Like, you shouldn't know what he went through. It should be evident by the performance, not everyone talking about, like, well, he slept outside and got frostbite, and now he doesn't have a toe. And
So did Viggo. So did Viggo Mortensen for Lord of the Rings. You didn't hear him bitching about it.
Oh, Vigo.
I do.
But
Viggo is my bae. I love Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have very strong opinions on Oscars, and while I do believe that Adam Driver deserves an Oscar for Star Wars already, I just don't think they're ever going to acknowledge him just because of the genre.
And I mean, I think they've only acknowledged one actor for Star Wars, and that was Alec Guinness for Best Supporting Actor. And yes, I just looked that up, and he lost. So,
yeah. I mean, all the awards
and I'm pretty sure that was because Alec Guinness was a legend already.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was sort of like Meryl Streep, like, you did a movie.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well, all the awards I'm seeing for Star Wars is John Williams' score, costume design, film editing, sound production, special effects. You know, it wasn't, acting and story. It wasn't, what's his name? From Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie. Patrick Stewart. It wasn't Patrick Stewart going acting.
I mean, to be fair, the prequels had issues with acting. But there's no way
that issues with acting. They have an issue with script.
Oh, the script is so bad.
But yeah, you're not gonna get. You just aren't. And it's Disney. Like, yeah, you'll get Johnny Depp nominated for Pirates of the Caribbean for Jack Sparrow, but everybody was like, wait, what?
Wait, that happened?
It did. I swear to God, it did.
If that's true, I don't like it very much. Because I don't think he acted very well in that. But whatever. I don't like Johnny Depp.
He's okay when he's cast
did.
correctly.
He got nominated after the first Pirates of the Caribbean.
So it's like the only really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, no, I watched that movie a lot back before I disliked Johnny Depp. I don't know, man. I feel like just everything we've been learning about The Last Jedi, it has all the hallmarks of an Oscar bait movie, you know?
Yeah.
If it was set in suburban Ohio and dealt with less, patricide and murder, it would win an Oscar.
You could still deal with the patricide and murder. Like, it's suburban Ohio where this kid has, killed his father and he's befriended this little orphan girl who doesn't know where she's from, but his uncle is like involved, and meanwhile there's this other subplot where we're gonna take down part of the government that she also got involved with her friends that are doing their own thing. Like, you could make it a plot in the real world and still include the patricide. How do we do this at trial? But you do what you do.
Yeah, I just, if this was set in the real world as a drama versus a fantasy film, I think the plot itself would easily be nominated at the very least. But because it's a fantastical space setting, you're not going to see that.
Well, could that just be Rian Johnson's influence? Because he, as a director, even though he is a director and he's directing movies for entertainment, for money, because it's a business, he also is an artist at the same time, and he does films as art than just films as entertainment for 2 hours.
I think some of it is Rian Johnson. I think some of it is Disney and Lucasfilm taking a chance because they know where Star Wars can go, and they know that it is a fantasy political thriller in space.
Gotcha.
So they're like, okay, well, let's look at this and let's see what it will do.
I'm ready for the fighting that The Last Jedi is going to cause. I'm like, bring it. Bring it.
Yep.
We have one last leak to talk about, and this one, again, I'm pretty sure it's also from Reddit, but the original link has been deleted, and this is a transcription from someone else's transcription that I found on, I believe it was the Star Wars Newsnet forums. But anyway. So this person says the first word of Luke, or Luke's first word, is no. The intro scene is the Millennium Falcon jumping into hyperspace, and it's also the last scene from The Force Awakens, so they connect from the same scene. Star Destroyers come out of hyperspace in the same sequence and attack the Resistance. The Falcon is leaving Dakar in the opening scene, not arriving. Think of the scene when it jumps into hyperspace at the end of The Force Awakens, and instead of following it, stay fixed on space, and then the First Order arrives. So that's actually kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's an incredible concept.
Yeah.
And it
Like,
makes
if
sense.
that's
It makes sense as to why they went back to, or they basically reshot the end of The Force Awakens to start The Last Jedi.
Yeah. I like
yeah,
that.
and it also explains why there's not a time jump. Like, if this leak ends up being false, the person who wrote it is still incredibly creative.
Yeah. They're like, I want to see that version of the script.
I know, same.
Dear Ryan Johnson, I know you're done. Can you make this happen?
Sincerely, not J.J. Abrams. This person said that there are Easter eggs in the Last Jedi. They talk about the humor. They say it's tough to really describe the humor in it. There are a lot of funny moments in the first half of the movie, but there's not really a whole lot in the second part. The hardest he laughed, or the author laughed, is when Finn, doing his best James Bond impersonation, wins a ton of money at the gambling table and wants to cash in his chips, but Rose won't let him because they have a mission. Boyega's protests are apparently very funny. The most jaw-dropping moment is when you find out how powerful Luke has become. This person says that they don't want to say in public who Rey's parents are, but they thought that she was Luke's daughter, and Rey is not Luke's daughter. They go on to talk about Kylo and Rey, and this person says they fight, they kiss, and by the end of the movie, they're determined to rule the galaxy together. When someone asked him about Kylo at the end of the movie, he said that there's no real clear-cut answer, that the movie really blurs the line between good and evil, but he will say this, that Kylo Ren's monologue at the end of the film, I'd vote for him as president. It's about a war-torn galaxy and how in the end, only the people with the money come out on top of the previous conflict unscathed. That needs to end. That Snoke and Luke, all they care about is, quote, the order, and that
Snoke and Luke, all they care about is order, but that what will really make the galaxy flourish and finally find peace is freedom.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. This is blurring together a little bit.
that there's a lot of these.
Yeah.
It's the last scene in the film, the very last one. Kylo holds Rey in his arms, and as he talks, the film shows the aftermath of the other sequences in the film. So like a montage, kind of, like he's narrating over it, and you see cuts to like the Battle of Crate and Star Destroyers. At least that's the impression I have on this one.
Yeah.
The romance between
Probably
Kylo...
not a montage, because a montage denotes passage of time.
Gotcha.
This is probably more of snapshots.
Okay, I get what you mean. But they say that the romance between Kylo and Rey is the last scene of the movie, so he wouldn't call it a central romance, corroborating what Ryan has said earlier. Phasma does not die. Luke, where is Luke at the end? That answer is a really, really, really big reveal. Luke uses his lightsaber. Leia's story is wrapped up. Snoke does not fight in the movie. Snoke does not really display power, or really it looks like Snoke doesn't really do much of anything according to this person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's our last leak. That one sounds like a retelling of the first leak.
Yeah. Added in more Finn and Rose. They actually mentioned Rose in this one.
That's true.
And I don't know if that's one of those things where I'm like, oh wait, you actually mentioned Rose in kind of a very Finn-like situation. I don't know if this gives it more credence, but it doesn't talk about DJ, Emmeline, more about yes, Leia's story is wrapped up. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Like some parts they get really detailed, and other parts they're purposefully, if it's true, they're purposefully withholding information to just have it be, interesting in the theater. Because everyone that I know is like, what color is Luke's saber? It better be the green one. I want to see the green saber, and no one has ever really talked about the saber or the color.
But this one actually mentions a saber.
Yeah.
The other one did mention that Luke has a red saber now, but
I would love it if Lucasfilm made him dark, but we will discuss that later on. So yeah, with all these
Yep.
leaks, what do you guys think? Like, what do you think's true? What do you think's bullshit? Like, what do you think?
So some of these are mentioning Leia's story being there and being wrapped up, which I think is good and is potentially a good thing considering Carrie can't do another movie, basically.
It makes me glad. Like, I hope that I don't know, it makes me wonder if they wrote her, if they did it in reshoots, you know what I mean? Because The Last Jedi had reshoots, and they went really well, and it was very quiet. But, I mean, reshoots always happen, especially with big movies. So I don't know if they went back and reshot it to make it seem like, and did some editing and some voiceover to really just make her story feel right and do justice to the character without having to just kill her off in between movies.
Yeah. We actually haven't heard a lot about reshoots, but that's a whole other topic.
Well, I know they happened a couple months ago, but like it wasn't like the Rogue One where they, had to reshoot half the movie. There's a lot to talk
I'm
about,
just
really.
glad that I don't know. The thing with Leia is I'm just really glad that she's getting the wrapped up story in this one, and we're not going to have to sit there and wait another 2 years wondering how they're going to kill her off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would be kind of nice because the one leak mentioned that R2 like has a lost recording or whatever, and that it affects people. I'm like, oh, is it going to be like the lullaby thing from Princess or Leia, Princess of Alderaan? Like they found somebody to sing it, and it's Leia in quotation marks singing it to little Ben.
Oh, I would cry. I would cry so hard. That's brilliant.
I would cry too. Dear Lucasfilm.
But I
Yeah.
mean, like, she would probably sing him, like, Alderaan lullabies. And I'd be like, don't tell your mom. I got you the blaster.
And yeah, I mean, it's just so there's that.
I don't know. What do you think of Harrison Ford?
I really want it to be true because I really do think that Kylo Ren needs to be haunted by Han's death in order for it to really have some weight to it. Because I really do think he needs to be focusing on what happened. So Kylo Ren absolutely needs to deal with the fact that he committed patricide. Like, I think the idea of having Han, like, kind of haunting him in a way is an interesting concept, and I would really like to see them do that, regardless of if this leak is true. I would like that to be true, because I think it is kind of necessary to the story.
You don't really just, like, bounce back from killing your father and then going to brunch. That it kind of weighs on you a little bit, just to say the least.
And I mean, I've seen across Tumblr like the reactions because apparently in the Phasma novel, it's stated she kills her parents. She also kills Hux's father for him, and they're all like, "Yeah, and join the club." Meanwhile, Kylo is sitting in a corner like, "What did I do? Oh my god!"
But he's not getting redeemed. He's a Sith for life, and he has those like yellow Sith eyes, and he totally not getting redeemed.
Yeah, I mean that it's some of these parts of these leaks. You just look at and you're like, yeah, okay, I guess Phasma doesn't die. You cool?
Yeah, I'm glad Phasma doesn't die. I mean, I hope she doesn't die because I really like Gwen Christie and I want her to have a better story. And since I feel that she's Finn's villain, she needs to remain for the entire series so Finn can have that triumph over her in the end.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, she does need to stay, and she needs to do she does need to have a big part.
I mean, she's really just Finn's main antagonist, and it would be, especially if she did die, but it wasn't by Finn's hands, it would feel like Finn was cheated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it would be his like big overcoming of the First Order.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I don't think that Hux should die by anyone but Kylo for the same reason.
Yeah.
That would be good. Also, I feel like Kylo would just be like, finally, somebody I want to kill for real.
Yeah.
I hate this guy. He gives so many speeches.
So many speeches. He does so many stupid things. He tries to get me in trouble. Oh no, my lightsaber went off. I didn't mean to.
And he ran into my saber. I don't know
He ran
what
into,
happened.
he ran into my
He
saber
ran into
10
my saber
times.
10 times.
Yes! Can you really do that? Properly, yes.
Well, I mean, the thing is I think it's really interesting that Kylo Ren himself, as a quote-unquote villain, has his own villain.
Yeah.
So-
like it's when you do that, you are setting up one to be like the real antagonist, and the other one is, yeah, something's gonna happen where the other one's gonna get like a turn heel at some point because it's Tarkin and Vader, and it takes a while, but you do see it.
Yeah. Is that kind of like all we have to say about a lot of the smaller stuff?
I'm just
I'm trying to think of what other... Rey is super not a Palpatine. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, yeah, no, she's not.
I think that was one of the ones that came after the quote-unquote, like... I think that's the one that came after someone was like, I'm being impersonated. Yeah, someone shared a picture of Palpatine and was like, who is Rey related to? And the quote-unquote leaker said, you just shared a picture of him. Which doesn't actually give any details like granddaughter or anything like that. It's the leak itself is reaching to their conclusion.
I mean, the other part that it seems like Adam Driver is getting a very big speech in this movie, which is cool, but I would like to see what it is.
I want that monologue of, like, if he's so good, he's such a good actor, and him having just a thoughtful, intensive monologue, it would do his character so much justice, even if he's good or if he's bad. If he wants to give like the villain monologue of all villain monologues, then do it and kick ass. Or if he wants to give, his redemption monologue, Adam Driver's the actor to do it.
This is his to be or not to be speech.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just kind of like this idea because I myself am getting disillusioned with everyone in power, and I realize that everyone is actually the bad guy. And so I think it's interesting that that The Last Jedi is potentially mirroring that in the sense that we're so used to having the good guys and the bad guys that what we realize is everyone's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is for this day and age, is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really, and that's the thing about Star Wars, is that they've always kind of touched upon the issues that are important at that time,
Yeah.
The interpersonal relationships and personal struggles kind of relate to the mindset of the people of that era. And the overarching plot tends to reflect the state of the world in that regard.
Yeah.
Like we said last week about the prequel trilogy dealing with seizing power for protection in the wake of post 9/11 America, and I think there's a lot of
politics that get put into space politics, and you see it coming through in the movies, and you do see it through even the originals.
I mean, like, principal photography was done during an election year, in a very nasty election year, so it's natural that some of that will be reflective in the movie. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if this quote-unquote monologue leak is true, but it came from a couple different sources, so there could be some credence to it. But yeah, I definitely think that it makes sense that something like that would happen in a Star Wars movie being made at this time.
Oh yeah. And like even when it was written, people could kind of see what was coming, so they knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, is that all we want to talk about with some of these more single issue leaks? Do we want to start talking about the ones that kind of keep showing up in all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Finn. So he gets to play James Bond, which actually seems pretty awesome. I can't wait to see it if it is true. It showed up in, I think, 3 different versions of leaks, or 3 different sets of leaks.
And I'm just waiting for John Boyega for James Bond 2018.
I would so pay for that. He'd be so good as James Bond.
Well, I
And
kind of want him as son of James Bond because I want Idris Elba as James Bond.
Oh yeah.
that would work too.
Yeah.
Or there's just, there's,
But he's already playing Idris Elba's son. I can't just keep casting them as father and son.
yes, you can.
You know what? Yeah. If Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter can be lovers in every single movie, Idris Elba and John Boyega can be father and son in every single movie.
I'm down. I'm down.
I will watch them. And it's not going to be weird because it's not like the creepy lover of one of them is casting his friends to be lovers.
I know, it's so weird. But no, so the interesting thing about the whole he impersonates James Bond thing is that we know for a fact that John Boyega is really good at impressions. And with James Bond being British, like, I feel like it's less of an impression and more of him
I feel like
no longer impersonating an American.
Actually, that would be really interesting if it's like he's impersonating James Bond. Does that mean, like, because we've seen in the trailer, like, not the trailer was behind the scenes where he and Rose are dressed up like Imperial officers. Is that kind of also how he gets through everything? Is he speaks with a British accent?
Actually, I would support every single part of this. But the thing is, I mean, when he says he's impersonating James Bond, does that suggest that James Bond exists in the Star Wars universe, or is this supposed to be like a wink, wink, nod, nod to us because we had James Bond in the last Star Wars movie?
I think it's a wink, wink, nod, nod, and the archetype that is James Bond, the suave, I'm going to sit at a gambling table and order a drink and charm the pants off of the lady that's with me while also shooting it up and being a secret agent. So I think it's more like James Bond's like, not this is actually James Bond.
And at least this lady.
Yeah, that's very confusing. But so one of the interesting things I think about the Finn storyline is that we saw in the Entertainment Weekly thing that he's talking about running again, grabbing Rey and heading for somewhere far away, and I think it's interesting that everything we're really seeing of Finn is him just trying to get away from the problems of the First Order and all of that, in the sense that, he's won a bunch of credits and now he wants to cash in and get out.
And that makes more sense if he's trying to run. First thing that you're going to do, or you need if you're going to run, is cash.
Well, it also ties back into one of the other leaks where it talked about Maz say, you see the same eyes in different people. It takes on a whole new meaning because she said that to Finn as he's trying to run away.
When Maz said that whole, you see the same eyes in different people, I was really curious who she was referring to in the first place. Because obviously that feels like it's supposed to be a reference to someone. And I always got that it was meant to be a reference to Luke because Luke wanted to run.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, not run necessarily, but he didn't really want to get involved in this whole thing. He just wanted to go to Tashi Station, and he had other things to do. He didn't have time to be a Jedi. And so I kind of felt like that's who it was meant to reference. And so the idea of it taking on a different meaning kind of feels to me like Maz is trying to say, or not Maz in particular, but that line is meant to say that he's morphing into someone else. Now, I don't know who that could be. It could be like a Han figure, in the sense that he goes undercover to the enemy base, and
and Han was also like, all right, I'm done. We're leaving. No more.
Yeah.
I did what you paid me for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, it's done. It's over. I got shot at. I'm out.
Also, can I say that I hate that? I hate that Finn is being regressed after doing his whole heroic thing. Like, I guess having your back sliced open by a lightsaber would kind of do that to you, but damn it, he went through so much. I hate the idea that he wants to run again.
Man,
But I don't know.
Well, yeah, because if they make it like he wants to run just to sort of be alive, and he doesn't think that either the First Order or the Resistance, who he's helped out and is helping out still, is the good place for him to stay alive. I think Finn has a very strong sense of self-preservation.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
that's fair. It's strange, though, because I feel like that's the thing that kind of knocked him out of his conditioning in the first place. Like, yeah, losing his friend did, but also the realization that there's a war going on around him and people are dying.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And I don't know. I hope he doesn't like stay that regress through the entire movie. Like, I really hope that's just a kind of a first arc sort of thing, or a first act sort of thing.
I mean, I think so. I think that if, like, especially if Rose is sweet on him, and as I believe it was Making Star Wars said that Rose will show Finn how everyone else sees Finn. Does that make sense? They don't see him as this coward who runs away. They see him as the hero of the Resistance who, he defied the First Order. He was the first stormtrooper to say, no, I am a human being. I'm not going to kill for them.
You know what would be interesting is like he is kind of, Rose picks up that he wants to run and does all this stuff and says the speech is like, you are better than this. This is what you are. This is who you are. And that's sort of somebody, like we mentioned something at the twist of the end that, Finn thinks that his moment to shine or whatever is being overshadowed.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's it. It's this whole speech by Rose saying who you are and like, I like you as this person, not as who you think you are.
Yeah.
And maybe it has something to do with the fact that he was, I mean, especially if we get that whole scene where the First Order comes and attacks Dakar as soon as Rey leaves. He's in a Bacta suit. I bet he has friends that, not friends, I guess, but people he kind of knew that die in this attack because, he basically, leaves. And so, like, he starts thinking that, he's not a hero. He was in a Bacta suit when, people around him were dying.
He has to be rescued yet again.
I mean, I think that could be an interesting way to take it. I do wonder, because there's that whole thing where it says that his brain is going to get downloaded because he gets captured. I assume that the whole being captured thing would happen when he and Rose try to infiltrate the First Order.
The thing is, I could see his brain getting downloaded, but I almost want it to be like it's Benicio del Toro's character. Like, that's how he portrays everything, is that, part of the information that he wants is he's like, I'll take one of your memories or something and download it into my computer so I have more information. And he picks Finn. Like, and neither Finn nor Rose know who it's going to be, and both of them have potentially way too much information, but he picks the one with both sides.
Well, I mean, if Benicio del Toro is supposed to be a hacker or a slicer, whatever they want to call it in the universe, I mean, it would fit with the theme of having his, his brain and his memories downloaded for the Order to use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the highest bidder.
I mean, it could also be Justin Theroux's character, because I think Benicio del Toro is who they're supposed to meet at Canto Bight.
Yes.
And so if there's a slicer working specifically for the First Order, it might be Justin Theroux.
Yeah, it was something. Oh, that was it. Because if it is like, it's one of the slicers and they end up getting paid more money because they have Finn's memories, then it goes into the couple things that we saw about the monologue that Kylo Ren says is all about, whoever has the most money comes out on top because you have that information. You're going to pay the most money for it.
Yeah. Well, didn't Making Star Wars also report that DJ, even though he looks really like scoundrelly and not too trustworthy and like he's like the bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks, but his personal ship is very sleek and new and modern and like a space Apple store.
Yeah, space Apple store. I like how my thought is like, so there's 5 million people in there playing with all of his gadgets, not going to buy them?
With lens flares.
Yeah.
Lens flares everywhere.
No lens flares, it's not JJ.
I mean, next time.
Well, he also, JJ has said, he's like, look, I get it. I do too many. I'm cutting back.
I don't know, man. We know that Finn ends up on Crate somehow.
Yes.
And so I've always viewed Crate as kind of this end-all climactic battle because we see that Rey's on Crate as well, unless she just happened to visit the set that day.
In full costume.
I mean, if they're on Pinewood and they have two different sets built.
True, but I also feel like to get between sets on Pinewood, knowing Star Wars and knowing what I've heard about other things, to walk outside, you are you're either taking off your costume or you are putting on like so many layers so nobody can see what you are or what you're wearing. Walking over, taking everything off, like, hey buddies, let's dance, and then putting it all back on to go back to your set to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. But yeah, that being said, I'm not really sure how Finn gets away from the First Order if he gets captured. And to be fair, we know that did the leak say that he got captured by the First Order?
Oh, just as he gets captured, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be anything.
It could be smugglers. It could be Boba Fett, guys. It could be Boba Fett.
He survived.
Oh God, let's not get crazy here.
I don't want it to be Boba Fett, but it just was like, haha.
So then, well, what if, assuming the First Order is who takes Finn captive, and they hold him on a Star Destroyer, and they find out that the Resistance was moved to Crate? Well, then it would make sense if the Star Destroyer decides, well, we're going to take this ship and all of our big guns and all of our ties and all of our fleet, and we're going to go to Crate and fuck them up. And you get to watch Traitor because you betrayed them. I mean, I could see that.
Or that would be interesting. The other thing is,
I mean,
the reason why he and Rose are in the uniforms is because Rose has broken in with uniforms, is like, we're getting out of here, and found him and is taking him.
That'll be awesome.
That can make sense. Like, maybe he gets captured on Canto Bight, and so instead, Rose goes to rescue him. Maybe with Poe. Maybe that's why he feels overshadowed by Poe, quote unquote, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's actually like Poe and Paige. But Finn is like, great, I can't even like get out of this on my, like, she didn't even want to come alone. She came with Poe, but that's a really weird animosity to even start creating between them. That's just
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it could make sense if he gets captured on Canto Bight, he gets taken to the Star Destroyer, Rose tries to free him after he's already been downloaded, and they escape and they go to Crate everyone, every last person ever.
Even Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
Well, that's one thing that's consistent in all these leaks, is that Luke is not going to be in the last act of the film. He's not going to be on Crate. Rey is going to be on Crate, and the behind-the-scenes wheel kind of hints, maybe from a certain point of view, that Kylo is going to be on Crate, but nothing about Luke being on Crate.
And that makes sense. It makes sense in that if Rey is there and she's done her training and finally goes and says, all right, I'm going to go back to the Resistance, and your sister, do you want to go? And if the stuff about Luke not liking anybody basically is true, he'll be like, I don't want to see her. I'm going to stay with my aquatic nuns.
And my porgs.
I'm upset though. I really want Luke and Leia to reunite, and if all these things about him being dark are true, like,
he's the wrong twin went dark, okay? Just saying.
So yeah, I mean, Finn's storyline seems like it's probably going to be straightforward. Like, he goes on a mission, he ends up with the First Order somehow, and then everyone ends up on Crate.
Yeah, and then the meat and potatoes of the Force side is just going to be with Luke and Rey and Kylo.
Yep, and the Praetorian Guards for some reason.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, everyone's talking about the Knights of Ren, but no one's talking about the Praetorian Guards. But the Praetorian Guards is in all the merch, so.
I think they're going to be more significant. The inclusion of the Praetorian Guards over the Knights of Ren kind of lends some credence to the leaks where they say that the Knights of Ren don't actually exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense because I think they were supposed to be in The Force Awakens. They took it out, and so they sort of have Kylo there doing it, and then it becomes kind of a sarcastic title in a way. Master of the Knights of Ren, or dead. Good job.
I mean, someone linked me to a thing that talks about some dark side character whose last name was Ren, and that he's probably like the beginning of the Knights of Ren. I don't know. I don't really have all that information, but
I mean, I've seen people who argue that it's Revan. It's the new canon version of Revan. So I don't know.
Maybe. That would be pretty difficult to explain why nobody knew about them.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. I think Revan is one of the parts that they're still technically canon, whereas other EU stuff is not.
I think
Oh yeah, they recanonized Knights of the Old Republic, didn't they?
I
they
think
did.
so.
They recanonized it?
That's what. Maybe. I feel like I heard that somewhere. Now that it's on cell phones.
That would make me so happy, because Revan is I love Revan. Same reason I love Kylo. He's not just simple, but I digress. I love Revan.
Yeah, I don't remember if that's true, and I don't really have the mental faculties to Google it right this second. But yeah, I feel like that's something that happened.
And it's an easier thing to recanonize because you aren't sitting there like, okay, well, this is true and this is not true. It's everything's in the past, so people who yeah. It's like people who want to care, people who are just coming off the street and seeing a Star Wars movie are going to be like, oh, I'm so angry that Revan is back being canon because of these reasons, or I'm so angry that he's not canon.
And then the question kind of becomes which version of Revan
Well, yeah.
is actually canon. I think they said that for Knights of the Old Republic, like the OG one, male Revan is canon.
Yes, male Revan is canon.
Well, yeah, because he has to be because of the baby.
And-
I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff with the Knights of Ren existing / not existing, and the Praetorian Guards kind of taking their place.
It'll be interesting if the Praetorian Guards were sent to follow Kylo, sort of to be his watchers. Like if Snoke figured out like there's something going on with him, we have to send. He wants to go on missions alone, and he has to do that. But the Praetorian Guards are sort of like there to make sure that he doesn't do something stupid, like go to the light.
I think it's also kind of funny the idea that Snoke would like see like, oh, well, this chick kicked your ass. Let's send you some backup.
yeah.
That too. That would be hilarious. It's like, you're not doing so well. You need some extras.
Take a couple heavies.
I just have a feeling that he won't want to bring people, and it's the reason why it's all like, why are you guys here? Is because he didn't expect the Praetorian Guards to be there either.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like both of them are fighting the Praetorian Guards.
Well, is it for sure that it's the Praetorian Guards and not the Knights of Ren that show up with Kylo on Octo?
I don't think it's confirmed that anybody shows up with Kylo. They might just show up at the same time.
Gotcha.
I think it was specifically confirmed that there are no Knights of Ren in Octo.
Okay, it's just the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah, from what I can tell. I mean, because think about it, dude, the Knights of Ren would have action figures out the ass.
That's
if
true.
they were going to be in this movie.
Oh yeah.
That being said, I love the Praetorian design. It's very samurai inspired.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's really all we can kind of say because we went from Finn and kind of jumped straight to Kylo, which kind of brings us to the next major plot point that almost all of these threads have in common, is that Kylo Ren and Rey are going to fall in love.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one. And part of me is like, maybe this is going to happen also because now Disney has started releasing adult-sized costumes, which aren't that great. They're still very costumey. And the only two that they have for adults right now, I believe, are Rey and Kylo Ren.
That's interesting. I mean, they do tend to get packaged together a lot. The fact that Kylo Ren has his own Forces of Destiny doll with Rey is
Interesting.
interesting, especially because they said that that episode of Forces of Destiny is going to take place between Rey and Kylo Ren on Octo.
Ooh,
Really?
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when is that episode coming out?
Oh.
Probably December 16th.
Because we're getting
I mean,
batch in October, and that's not going to be there because they're not giving away anything about The Last Jedi.
No, I think we're gonna get a Luke one in October because they have said that they're doing the guys now too, but I don't think we're gonna get a Kylo one until starting December 15th, we wait. And my guess is like, okay, everybody's there. Oh, it's the 16th. It's a Saturday. Go, 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 go.
Gotcha.
I mean, depending on when they start releasing them, because they have more, they may release one a week instead of one every day.
Yeah.
But I think the new thing they're doing is they're doing like on Disney. I don't know if they're releasing before that too, but they're actually showing them like as a block.
Yeah, it's like a 30-minute
Oh,
special.
nice.
Yeah, and then
That's
the second
cool.
one's like an hour and a half. That seems really long. But yeah, they're doing them like blocks together. I'm like, that's cool.
I'd buy
Well,
it.
the hour and a half could be the first run, and I mean the half hour could be the first run of them, and the hour and a half could be all of them.
That's true.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
But yeah, so I mean, as far as Rey and Kylo Ren goes, like, it's interesting that every single leak mentioned them together in some capacity.
It mentions them together, and I mean, it's become a thing to package them together, and
But like Ryan Johnson said, they're two halves of the same whole. So if you have Kylo, you have Rey, and if you have Rey, you have Kylo, and it makes sense if they form some sort of romantic relationship. And to be fair, and I'm really trying to be conservative with this, but this is a leaks episode, so putting on that tinfoil hat. Assuming, because all of these say that Rey is not a Skywalker, and so that means that Ben Solo is the last remaining living Skywalker heir. And if they want to make more movies, there's gonna have to be more Skywalkers. So it makes sense. It sets things up. It would wrap the sequel trilogy up with a nice big pretty bow, and set up a whole new trilogy for the next generation of Skywalkers.
and it makes sense because the main trilogies of Star Wars are about the adventures of the Skywalker family and how they influence galactic politics for good or bad. Um, so you have, if Rey, as all these leaks have said, is not a Skywalker at the moment, the way that she can become one easily.
By marriage.
Yeah. But
I mean, all these leaks are really just talking about them embracing and whatnot. So that doesn't necessarily mean, first comes love, then comes marriage and all that.
Well, one of them is going to say they
But
can't.
what? I missed that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
I don't know if I would be very surprised if we see a kiss between Rey and Kylo Ren. I feel like, I mean, it is a 2.5 hour long movie, but that's a lot of development to go from hatred to kissing. I can see like some affection and maybe like an embrace, but a kiss is kind of hardcore for me.
So, well, in the second movie of Star Wars, there's always 3 kisses. There were 3 kisses in Empire, and there's 3 kisses in Attack of the Clones. So, assuming that Finn and Rose have something going on, what I mean, you'd expect 1 or 2 from them, but
Yeah.
if
it would be interesting, and it would be interesting to see how it's done. Like you could have the smush their heads together, now kiss, or who initiates it, where it goes, or what have you. I don't know. Maybe
I could see Rose initiating with Finn, like while he's like feeling super down in the dumps, and then she like gives him a pep talk and then kisses him to inspire him.
inspiration.
oh,
So I could maybe see, like, if fans are expecting 3 kisses and you kiss 1 and kiss 2 with Finn and Rose, and they expect there to be, kiss 3 with Finn and Rose, and then they kind of turn it on their head and there's a kiss between Rey and Kylo Ren, that would be
Interesting.
I mean, that would be a twist.
Twist.
I mean,
The twist.
Everyone is saying that this movie is going to divide the fandom, and I mean, we're going to save the bulk of this for our shipping episode because this really opens a big, contentious can of worms. But the biggest ship war in Star Wars is between Reylo and everyone else. Because a lot of
Literally everyone else.
because
It's
a lot
not even like Reylo and Finray. It's Reylo and everybody else in fandom.
I mean,
because it's Reylo versus Finray versus Kylux versus like Reva versus
Storm Pilot and Dark Pilot and
versus
everything.
Rook.
Yes.
Oh, I just vomited a little in my mouth. Oh.
But no, from a narrative standpoint, I think that Rey and Kylo Ren would be interesting. Specifically because like Kylo Ren, Ben Solo really is one of those kids who literally had everything handed to him, and it all fell through because of people probably not being there for him, and so it's really easy for Rey to judge him and say you had parents.
Yeah.
He explains or he shows her that like look, my parents existed but they weren't really around.
Yeah. Well, isn't there a scene?
And so she can kind of understand that they both grew up alone for the most part.
Yeah.
Isn't there a scene that was reported, and I don't remember who reported it, but that Kylo and Rey are having a pretty civilized conversation on Octo that Luke does not like, and he blows up one of the huts.
First of all, why would Rey sit down and have a civilized conversation with Kylo Ren on Octo?
I mean, we don't know. I get this weird feeling that the big confrontation on Octo is going to be in either the end of the first act or the second act of the film. It's not going to happen, when Crate's getting blown up, because I think it's been pretty established pretty clearly that Battle of Crate is going to be at the end of the film. It's going to be the third act where everything converges.
Yeah. And maybe actually it's an interesting part because it looks like people are going in the water on Octo, and maybe the civilized conversation comes after they're all out of the water and potentially Kylo has helped Rey get out because she may not know how to swim. She may know how to swim. You don't know. And that's what Luke doesn't like is that they're sitting there and having this conversation because, okay, I really don't want to kill you, but let's talk.
Well, I mean, and if she gets to Octo and Luke is just this disgruntled, bitter, angry, assuming he's not evil, and doesn't want to train her, doesn't help her when she nearly drowns, and doesn't help her when she gets attacked by a sea monster, but the person who does help her is Kylo Ren. I mean, what would you do? What would you do if you were in Rey's shoes? Would you talk to the person who's told you to get off his lawn? Or would you talk to the person who, saved your life, assuming that's what he does in the movie?
I mean, do y'all remember that leak we got about the hut exploding?
Not really.
I remember that.
Back when filming started, ages and many moons ago, someone reported that on the Octo set, one of the huts exploded because of an argument inside. And I think it would be pretty telling if Rey and Kylo Ren are like super civil and Luke doesn't quite care for Kylo Ren as much anymore for reasons, to see I don't know, just to see them talking could possibly upset him. Because we did get told that, I mean, in the leaks at the very least, that Luke is incredibly powerful now.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't really control his power. And to be fair, he hasn't really had much stimulus as far as emotions go, as far as I can tell, because he's been alone. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things about this storyline that could be interesting.
I mean, if Reylo becomes canon, and I think this would have huge implications for the Star Wars universe as a whole, but without, giving everything away for our super awesome shipping episode that we do have planned, Reylo would divide the fandom. a lot.
Absolutely.
Lot.
I was in an
Yeah.
argument with someone today about whether or not, it's abusive. And, I mean, here we are 2 years out and people are still, trying to trivialize abuse trauma by comparing it to a fantastical fictional movie. But,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said for just the person that they would see in each other once they came to understand each other a little better. And, if here's Luke refusing to train Rey, and, Kylo Ren's already disillusioned with Luke, and now he's disillusioned with Snoke. I could see his monologue basically being to Rey, like, look, you and I are the only ones each other can trust anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And as far as, gosh, I don't know, like, neither of them have, I mean, as far as I can tell, neither of them have any experience with, like, being in love.
I mean,
So,
speaking of being experienced being in love, do you remember when someone tweeted at Pablo and asked him if Kylo was a virgin?
Oh yeah, I know who that
what?
was.
Yes. So, someone tweeted at Pablo and asked, "Is Kylo a virgin? My friend and I have a bet. Like, person A says yes and person B says no." And Pablo responds like verbatim. He says, "The bet is $50." And everyone, like, Tumblr exploded going, "Oh my god, Kylo's a virgin! Kylo Ren is a virgin!" What? Pablo did not say that. He said the bet was $50. Not, yeah.
Oh, internet.
I can't imagine someone who's that keen on survival and, having any sort of romantic relationship whatsoever. Because, like, I mean, she won't even, like, partner up with other people on Jakku to find supplies and whatnot. So I can't imagine her opening up to anyone enough to where she would, like, have a romantic relationship with them on Jakku.
Oh no. I mean, Rey left the orphanage much earlier than all the rest of her, I don't want to say roommates, but fellow orphans,
Yeah.
to go out and scavenge on her own because she didn't trust anyone.
Yeah, I feel like either of them having a romantic relationship before all of this would be nigh impossible, because I can't imagine angry Kylo Ren having a love interest before Rey, and I definitely don't imagine that him gallivanting around the galaxy with Luke afforded much opportunities to get laid.
No.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it afforded a lot of opportunities. I don't know.
I don't know how many people know that he was. Well, actually, the other thing is, he's going around with Luke and his name is Ben Solo. How many people are like, oh, like Han? Hey, boy, hey.
How you?
I mean,
I can't sleep with Han. Close enough.
I feel like that would require. I don't know. I mean, I feel
Like
that would.
the opportunities could have been there, but whether or not he understood what that meant is another.
Well, and I guess it also kind of depends on what kind of Jedi Order was Luke trying to build. If Luke himself never got married, who he may have been trying to force the celibacy concept onto his students as well.
Because
Yeah.
that worked so well for Anakin and the original Jedi Order.
Yeah. Way to pay attention to your shit, Luke.
So
Look,
who knows?
maybe he was like,
Yeah.
I know Leia's gonna have kids. Clearly, I don't have to have kids.
That's true.
Good plan. Great plan.
I don't know how much they have left to present. Like, twists. Rey's gonna get together with somebody and put her with Kylo, but it is interesting that
Well,
they're setting up Finn and Rose to be this one romance, and you already can kind of tell that they're setting them up. But then to be like, spoiler, there's two romances.
I mean, John Boyega.
Two?
Yeah.
What?
Gasp. Yeah, John Boyega said in the Cannes interview that the romance in 8 is not going to go the way people think it's going to go. It's going to be different. It's going to really kind of take people aback.
Yeah.
And people would definitely
I mean, I
take
think
it
that
back.
makes sense. But yeah, the whole idea of John Boyega basically saying, that it's not going to go the way you think it is, and then them like really shoving Finn and Rose at us is like the relationship. I'm going to come out to Across the Stars. Ah! Like, I feel like they're really trying to push that as the relationship. That way, when they bring on the second one, because who has a second relationship in Star Wars?
No one. That's who.
Ryan Johnson is a madman. Um, I think that's kind of the point, is that they're going to push one relationship on us, and we're like, yes, that's our Han Leia. And then we suddenly get like, wait a second, why are Rey and Kylo Ren embracing? What's happening?
Why is the product of Han and Leia embracing somebody?
Yeah. I fully expect to see at least one person throw their popcorn at the screen at the movie, if this is the case.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, long story short, Reylo has interesting narrative potential for this movie based on what we already know and the leaks we've seen.
And fan dividing potential, absolutely. But
Yes.
I guess though, if anything could be more contentious than Reylo, it would be the biggest point that we think is the most interesting is whether or not Luke is going to go full dark side, if he's going to just do it and be evil.
I like this idea because I think it presents a very interesting twist on Luke Skywalker. Because the one where it's like that he's just the angry, kind of dark-sided hippie living on the planet, I like. I kind of like that idea that he's not sure how to control the Force, all of his powers, and is just so powerful he doesn't know what he's doing. Because that makes sense. He gets trained a little bit by Yoda and then fend for yourself. And if he's dark side or has dark tendencies, maybe he can't hear Force ghosts and can't hear them try to help him train more. And he's just like, screw it. Clearly the Jedi just mess up everything. That's why they're gone. And that there's no more Darksiders. And we're done.
I would be really happy and impressed. I think that's the biggest word, impressed, if Lucasfilm and Disney had the fortitude to make him dark. Because you see the shadows of it, or the beginnings of it, if they do make him dark. You see that in Return of the Jedi. I just recently rewatched it, and I mean, he force chokes Jabba's guards. What light sider force chokes people?
It's true.
He wears all black. And even though that was done on purpose to where Luke wore black, but the lining was white, he struggled. He struggled with rage. I mean, Vader was able to bait him into giving into his rage and cutting off Vader's hand by tormenting what Luke cared about most, which was his sister, which is the same way that Anakin fell. So I would love it. I really would, if they decided to make Luke dark and evil. And this kind of goes into a little bit of the speculation from some of our previous leaks, where it's kind of insinuated, but not really, that Luke is in charge of the First Order. Like, that's the big revelation. That's the spoiler of all spoilers, is that Luke is the number one behind the First Order. Which I don't know if I quite believe that. It would be interesting, and it would definitely, shake the fandom. But I don't know. I don't know if Disney and Lucasfilm are willing. I think Ryan Johnson would be willing to, but I don't know if Disney and Lucasfilm would be willing to write a story where Luke just goes full in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I I don't think Disney has the cojones to do it because they want to. Everybody loves Luke. He's, now you're kind of offbeat uncle who lives out in the woods. I don't think they're going to make him full dark.
Kind of sad, to be honest. I mean, it would be so. I would just, I don't know. I would tingle. I would tingle and just be shocked if they actually just did it. You know what I mean? If they made him dark.
Mm-hmm.
They had him bust out a red lightsaber. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the theater just gasping, seeing Luke with a red lightsaber?
Oh man, that would be amazing.
Well, I mean, think about the fact that he has a red kyber crystal around his neck.
That's the other thing
Like,
too.
what if that's not Vader's? What if that's, I mean, what if it is Vader's? But, like, it's a very odd thing to have. Like, he's either, I don't think someone who's gray is going to keep a red kyber crystal. I think if you're, like, pure white morality, maybe you try to purify it for your nephew or your father or something like that. But I don't really think you keep a kyber crystal like that around if, are middling gray. You're either totally pure or totally not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, and it's confirmed with the Funko that, I mean, Luke has a red kyber crystal. We don't know whose kyber crystal it is or where he got it, but he definitely has one.
Very interesting.
I mean, I would be so happy. I would be so happy if it's like, boom, you were all wrong. Because, I mean, no one would see it coming. Everyone expects Rey is Luke's daughter, or Rey is, Han Solo's long lost niece from a one night stand with Emilia Clarke's character. Like, that's what people are expecting. No one is expecting Luke to just be the head of the First Order and be that guy. And maybe
Yeah.
that's what makes Kylo so relatable, where it blurs the line between good and bad. Where it's like, well, Kylo was painted as this evil father killing, psycho in The Force Awakens, but you find out in The Last Jedi, well, he's like that because look at Luke. Look at the person who trained him.
I think it would also be kind of interesting because we got that little thing about how Luke thinks that Ben is the chosen one.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's immediate reaction was like, well, hold up, I thought that was Anakin.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I just kind of feel like maybe that's Luke's way of being like, well, we need a different chosen one to bring evil back.
But I mean, at that point, he's really would be using Ben. I mean, it's like, well, you're the means to my end. You're the chosen one.
You get a chosen one, and you get a chosen one.
Chosen ones for everyone.
If they look like Adam Driver, I'll take one too.
I mean,
Wouldn't we
fair.
all?
I would also take one.
I think my biggest problem with the idea of Luke turning evil is that Mark said that he was totally against the script for The Last Jedi and Luke's direction in the film, but way back in the 80s, Mark Hamill talked about how he wanted Luke to go dark. So either he was trolling back in the 80s or that's not the direction he's gonna go.
Well, but potentially with him, things have changed. That could also be something that, back in the 80s, yes, he thought that would be cool for Luke Skywalker to go dark, but now he's like, no, I've basically lived as Luke Skywalker, the same way that Carrie always mentioned that Leia was part of her. He's like, I don't think he would go dark. It's not how I imagined it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of I don't know. It's interesting. It's because it does kind of beg the question, like, did he change his mind? Like, what's really
Going on there?
going on there? Yeah, like I don't know. I really want him to be dark because I think it's an interesting plot. I just wonder how it's going to go down.
I don't know,
Exactly.
but they have, I mean, 20 odd years between, Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens of what the hell happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to get a lot of books talking about what happens in between. I think.
Well, and we also, yeah, and I mean, part of this is we're getting the book about the mythology of Luke Skywalker coming out soon too.
Oh yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm like, oh yeah.
I think that was one of the things I brought up when I was talking to you this morning. I do think it's interesting that we are getting this book that's talking about how that basically retells Luke Skywalker's story from the perspective of different people, because it does kind of set up this idea that Whereas we think that Luke was being super heroic in this one moment, someone else may think that, may believe he was being villainous. And so that's an interesting concept to set up right before you have a movie where potentially you reveal him as a villain, because it becomes that sort of thing where, like, is Snoke the ultimate evil? Is Luke the ultimate evil? Is everyone kind of middling shades of gray?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Disney has definitely been pushing the Imperial perspective a lot, especially with Battlefront and what's the book called? Lost Stars and the Empire's End, the Chuck Winding books. With Ray Sloan and Gallius Rax. So they're definitely they're pushing the Imperial agenda, or not agenda, but perspective, and creating this narrative that the Empire wasn't just a bunch of space Nazis. They were real people.
I wonder how much of that is that the Empire has always been like a fan favorite. So maybe they're trying to be like, yeah, okay, they're not that bad. Here's the like real people, and we're going to talk about the real people involved in this.
Yeah, it's like Tarkin was a dick, the Emperor was a jerk, but like the cogs of the machine, what made the machine of the Empire run, they were just people who were doing their jobs. And by our stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, I do think it's an interesting concept that they really are, and I mean, even the whole cast is like, this is the grayest Star Wars movie that has ever existed. I think it is kind of an interesting concept that, I don't buy that Luke is actually the leader of the First Order and that Snoke is subservient to him, because we know for a fact that Snoke basically groomed Ben Solo when he was in utero, and I just can't imagine Luke sanctioning that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
feel
imagine
like
Luke knowing about that.
Yeah. Like,
and not having done something.
Now, maybe we find out that he's in charge of the First Order because he's trying to take down Snoke or something, and so we spend this movie thinking he's villainous because we find out he's the leader of the First Order, and then later we find out that he's only the leader of the First Order because, he was trying to take out Snoke to save Ben Solo. Like, but I feel like that's just too much bouncing back and forth. Like, Luke is good, Luke is bad, Luke is good, Luke is bad. And I would rather have a movie where everyone is gray than a movie where people constantly ping back and forth from black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that. Definitely get that. I mean, especially with the popularity of Game of Thrones, where nothing, you know what I mean, no single character is wholly bad and no single character is wholly good. It's transpired more than just Game of Thrones. It's been seen in other media outlets and other, you know what I mean, in movies and film and books and all that fun jazz. It's the new, or not the new, but the trend, you know what I mean, that nothing is wholly good or wholly bad.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, and the thing is a lot of this is all hypothetical because these are all leaks. We can talk about, how cool this theory would be or how much sense it would make if it was true, but they're all leaks that have no true credibility behind them. So, we can take everything with a grain of salt and talk about, like, hey, it would be kind of cool if Luke was more dark, or, it would be great if Kylo Ren and Rey fell in love. But, yeah, it's all potential that I guess we'll find out about in 2 months, 2.5 months.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
as long as what happened to Pirates of the Caribbean 5 doesn't happen to Last Jedi and it gets hijacked, which I hope doesn't happen because that would ruin the movie for a lot of people.
Wait, what happened with Pirates of the Caribbean 5? I've actually never seen it.
I haven't either, so earlier, it was last year, like around Christmas time, or fall of last year, the some hacker dude got a hold of and broke through all of Disney's security and got a copy of the copy of Pirates of the Caribbean 5. And I don't remember what they were demanding, but they wanted something in return. And every day they released like 15-minute snippets of the movie.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Just like, wow, I'm surprised that Rian Johnson just announced all over social media that they have a final cut and it's done.
Yeah, but I also think that that's to say it's different than Force Awakens because I think JJ was editing right up to the premiere.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they're going to advertise that the movie is done, I think they're going to be real smart about it and make sure it's not actually available on any downloadable computer and have only
Exactly.
hard copies and the like.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I mean that's a great fucking way to lose your movie that everyone's been waiting to see.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't ruin it for everyone else.
And that's what it boils down to is don't ruin it for everyone. You know, not everyone loves spoilers. And if people, I mean, if they don't want anything, they're not going to be listening to podcasts. They're not going to be looking on Reddit and 4chan for leaks. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
don't ruin it for everyone who doesn't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem is people love to spoil movies for other people, you know?
Hmm.
I remember as soon as The Force Awakens came out, people actually paid to change their like gamer tags and stuff like that to Kylo Ren kills Han.
And that's just,
Oh, really?
And yeah, I'm just like, how could you possibly be that much of a trash human that you're going to pay money to ruin other people's day? And I mean, that's the reason I turned off my Facebook, uh, because I wasn't going to see The Force Awakens for a week, you know? Um, but and I mean, I'm gonna have to go on that same like social media hiatus. I'm not popping on anything because I'm. It's so funny because I live my life listening to spoilers about this movie, but when it comes down to the actual movie, I want to go in fresh. Like I want to see the movie without anyone's knowledge of what's truly in the movie corrupting me.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, like with making Star Wars, like it's one thing to know facts. Like there's going to be slicers, there's going to be space horses, and there's going to be porgs. But it's different than having, everything spoiled for you because the impact of it, of being in the theater and experiencing that moment, can't be replicated on 4chan. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope that no one gets to be douchey and spoils it for everyone. Did both of you go into The Force Awakens unspoiled?
Yes.
Gotcha. And I went into it knowing that Kylo kills Han and thinking that Rey was Luke's daughter. And so when I got into it, I'm like, oh, is this where Han dies? Is this where Han dies? Oh, the long bridge with no safety railing. This is when Han dies. But like going through an entire movie of going, is this the part where he dies? Is this the part where he dies? Like that, it's crappy. You know what I mean? And that was all spoiled
Yeah.
because of social media. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this very speculative episode of Council of the Whills. We just want to reiterate one more time that we don't know if any of this is true. This is just leaks that have kind of, come out of the wall, and who knows? It's fun to talk about, especially since right now we're kind of in the middle of a dry spell, for lack of a better word, with news. And I think we really will be until the new trailer drops in October. But until the next episode, everyone, thank you for listening. And I'm Jane.
I'm Jen.
I'm Amber.
And may the force be with you.